Hello, my name is Veronica, and welcome to the Learning Lab, episode number 36, Buddy Page Swap. One of the groups I belong to decided to do a swap page, and this is what I came up with to send the 17 people who are participating. So come on into the lab today and let me share with you how I got there. First of all, I'd like to share with you the paper that I use, and it's from We Are Memory Keepers, and it's their whiteout. I'm going to slowly turn this so I don't make anybody dizzy. The back side is one solid piece, and the front side has these wonderful designs on it. And since they were already 6 by 6, I thought, wow, this would be perfect to use for my buddy swap pages. And just share with you some of the ones that I found. The first thing I did was remove the strip, because I have a wonderful cutter that when I put it in, I could see that this measured true 12 by 12. Even if these pieces didn't quite line up, I made them at 6 inches. And so once I cut them down, I have a little piece that looks like this, and that's what became the background for all of my buddy swap pages. So now once I had all of my pieces cut out, I took some of my Tim Holtz Distress inks in just whatever colors coordinated, and I used some of my cut and dry foam, and this one happens to be the black soot. Put it in, and then I just went around my edges using my craft mat and just inked them in some slightly different ways. And that gave a nice little look to them. So this created the base for my buddy swap page. So now let's take a look at how I got to this. So the first thing I did was took those small photos and put them through my number 4 classic oval die and cut them out. I took some 8.5 by 11 piece of white card, put it into my trimmer, trimmed it at 5.5, and my Labels 10 number 5 die fits on there beautifully. But because I wanted to get the matting that was going to go behind my frame, I also used the Labels 3 and laid them down and ran that through so that I could get the backing piece for this, and also so that I could get my backing piece and my cutout piece, which I stamped. That's what brought me to this outside piece and this piece. Then I used some of my leftover paper, trimmed it down to 4 inches, and ran that through the die cutter using the largest classic oval. But because I wanted to get more bang for my buck, I then took number 3 and laid that on the inside so that I could get 2 pieces out of that. Now for the stamping that went around this, and I used some of these little ones from Paper Studio. I have a lot of them, and I just pulled out 2 that I thought would be appropriate for the occasion, and then just turned my dial to select it. This one happens to say Love One Another. I used a lot of my Memento inks for this because I found that they were the perfect color. So let's go ahead and stamp one using the Danube Blue. If you decide to use something similar to this where you have to do the dialing, just check and make sure you don't have a lot of ink left over on here, because it is going to come off onto your project. So just use a paper toweling or your finger and wipe that away. But I do have another mouse pad, my sheet, and then my paper. And if you take, when you're stamping with this, your thumb should be on the where it says Paper Studio side, and that means it's going to come out for you. I find that if I rock this just a little bit, I get a nice impression. So using a variety of Memento inks, I just went all the way around my labels, trying to stay as close to the outside edge as I could, because I knew I was going to do some layering on top of that. Bringing back in this completed one, I then took some of my Distress inks and went around the edges of the outside label, and I also went around the edges of the inside labels. Then the next part is putting it all together and then adding my beading. And I do want to take you through the steps of how I did that. Now looking at this sample one, and I'm going to pull it apart to dissect it for you. Here's my one that I inked around. This is from that Labels die where I put the smaller one on the inside and I cut that out, that can go back later to be an adornment on my page. Haven't quite decided yet. But here's that oval, and then here is the outside oval stamped and inked. I brought in my mat because I am going to do some gluing. And for this, I am using my Aleene's 2-in-1 glue. It's just like the Zig 2-way glue. See if I can get this lined up. And the final thing on here is to put on our beads. I'm going to have to use the large one with 2 smaller ones because I'm out of that middle size. I use my Fiskars fingertip knife for this. Works beautifully. They also have a pair of tweezers. They're purple handled, and you may have seen me use those before, but those work well also. And as is my habit, once I get them down, I take the plastic piece that came with them and give them a nice press to make sure they're anchored into place. And so now there is my completed focal point ready to go on to my page. I'll probably tie the ribbon in the middle and then anchor it under the bottom, put that off to one side, and use some of those other pieces to talk about us or to add some other adornments to this quick little 6x6 page. All ready to go, except it needs its pearl. For this one, I'm using the Queen & Company pearls, and these are the lime green. I use the Queen & Company pearls for almost all of them. Here I'm just going to use the plastic wrapper that they came in and press them down. So now I have a beautiful soft page that's accompanied by an even softer piece of ribbon. Now here's the part that I really want to share with you. This ribbon didn't start this way. I didn't have something soft enough the way I wanted it to complement the page, so I made some of my own. Let me show you how I did it. I picked up this Satin Essentials ribbon from either Michaels or AC Moore, I can't remember which. Dipping it into the Radiant Rain wasn't a huge discovery. It was using my Distress ink. So here's what I did. I took my Distress ink pad and my craft sheet, and I just put it down and got out some of the black ink. Made a little square. Then, I know this is water and I don't normally have it near my crafting area, but I'm using this little shot glass, which is actually the perfect size, and I just want to pre-wet my ribbon. If you have a mini mister, you can do that, but I don't want to do a lot of spritzing and spraying unless that's all I'm going to do during that time. So now that I have that in, when I pull it out, I'm just going to hold it above that square and squeeze some of the excess water so that it puddles onto there. It gives me a little bit more water with which to work. And I'm just going to swirl that around to make some black ink. Now I'm going to take my white or creamy ribbon and just let it soak up. If you have the Distress re-inkers, then you could take some little shot glasses like this, fill them up, and just drop ribbon by the boatloads in it, and you're guaranteed to get something that's going to match your project every single time. Now, because of the way this Distress ink is formulated, the black doesn't separate. It is the Tim Holtz Distress ink. It does stay true to color, so you don't have to worry about your black becoming something else. I just finished inking is what will become a bow or ribbon or some other kind of adornment on this page, which will match the black pearls that I put across the top. And this project has been a lot of fun. I loved finding this coordinating paper and being able to make my own ribbons to match, because now each one that each person receives is going to be unique to that person. So the next time you see some paper that's all just alike, go ahead and take the plunge. To see what the final version of this is going to look like, you're going to have to visit me on my blog, inkallusions.blogspot.com, where you're going to find a lot more information and inspiration. So thank you for joining me in the lab today. I had fun discovering that I could use my Tim Holtz inks to color my ribbon. Truly a unique experience for me. Until then.